on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of A Stated Loud. You know who it is. It's your boy Chris Jefferson here, your host once again. And this episode, I know I say it every time we have a very special guest, but this is a very special guest. Jersey City born, recording artist, entertainer. I mean, I was just in New Haven, Connecticut today, and his name was already ringing bells in the streets out there. So you know this man is about his business, about growth, and about doing his thing. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the show Pressure. My guy, how are you doing?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a long day, but I'm glad we're here.
It's all right. Me too, man. Just got off a flight, so
Absolutely.
I know how you feeling.
And I appreciate that. Seriously, that shows you a man of your craft, because if I was getting off a flight, I'll be go straight to bed.
Nah, man, it's not even work anymore. I love doing this, so
Sheesh.
Of course.
Sheesh. But that's a good place to be in, because I'm not even gonna lie. Many days it feels like work. But what they say, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So would you say you're at that point in the world you're creating where you don't really feel like you're kind of working?
For me, it's half and half. Like, I get my days. It depends on who I'm dealing with.
Okay.
That changes everything.
That very much does. That very much does, man. And because you are a man of many talents, I like that you do consider yourself an overall entertainer, because not only are you a recording artist, you've had hit records, you've been on the radio, you've done your freestyles on Sunday, putting out tracks, which was a huge crowd favorite. I know I was watching last summer.
Live in the booth.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And I hear that you're looking to bring a lot of that stuff back.
Of course, yeah.
So I always have to ask, especially to start the show, like, how did we get here? Like, what was it, or what was the day, or what was the influence of getting you into music, into entertainment that you are in now? Like, how did we get here?
Okay, first off, I remember back when I was young, man, between like 9, 10, 11 years old, like somewhere in that time frame. I always loved poetry. In school, I was learning all formats of poetry, and with me doing that, one day my aunt, my mom, and I think my grandmother or my cousin was with me, and we had went downtown Newark, which is a city in Jersey.
Yes, sir.
And we was down there, and at this time they used to sell like bootleg tapes. Like, this is back
like cassettes?
Well, CDs.
Okay, CDs. I was about to say. I mean, ain't nothing wrong with cassettes, but okay.
It was half and half.
All right.
And I was a big G-Unit fan. You know, right. Lloyd Banks is my favorite rapper. 50, big influence on me. And there was a CD that said 50 Cent instrumentals. At this time, I'm young, so I didn't even know what instrumentals meant. Okay. I knew the word beats, but I didn't know what instrumentals meant. So we brought it, and I remember my aunt getting in the car, and on the ride, when we was done shopping or whatever, on the ride back to where we were going, she put it in the CD player just because it was a whole bunch of his songs from Give It to Die Trying and The Massacre. It was mixed. So I'm like, oh, this is a compilation of all his greatest hits. Put it on, no words.
So you looking to get hype in the car, and you're like, oh, okay, it's missing something at that point.
My aunt immediately was ready to turn around. I remember, like, she was like, oh, like, she got tight. Like,
yeah, of course.
Like, you know, because bootleggers already is doing something they ain't supposed to be doing.
It's a little shady. You ask if it's a good one, they tell you it's 9 out of 10. Right. You don't know what that 9 out of 10 really going to be like.
Yeah, so that 1 out of 10 is, they don't come with lyrics. We didn't know that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Right. So,
all right.
So what happens is, I stop her, like, no, it's all right. I'll take it. Like, you know, it's cool. Probably cost $3 at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Brought it back to the crib and popped the joint in. And because I knew all of their songs, I just felt, I don't know, like, great about performing it the way I wanted to. You know, the brush and the mirror, like the 8 Mile style, you know?
Yes, yes.
I had fun during that time doing that. And because I knew how to write lyrics, it got to a point where I started substituting the words. And I'm like, let me customize this and make it mine.
Yes.
And from there, a friend of my mother's by the name of Richard, I think this is like 2000, I want to say like 2004, 5 maybe. I have recorded, probably 2005. It's 2005. I recorded my first solo track. And that's when it all started from there. Like, really just picking up a bootleg, even though I love music, but that specific CD kind of like stamped it, like, you know, create this road. you know?
Okay, so more or less, it's fair to say you almost kind of stumbled into this.
Yeah.
Like being a fan of G Unit and 50 Cent and when the things they were doing in music is huge because I grew up a big fan. I grew up a
Right.
huge fan, but you felt even more inclined to take a step further and create your own. Was creating something musically or artistically something you always been comfortable with growing up, or was it something you kind of fell into at that moment?
I always felt like music was a form of expression for me.
Okay.
Like I never was really like heavy into sports like that. So, as my peers, their outlet was, basketball, football, other activities that I just didn't want to be a part of. Music was a different way to express how I felt, what I was thinking. And I love the creative process. I love the idea of making things rhyme and making it make sense. And also going for a feeling, like when people listen to you as an artist, they should be able to feel something and not just take it as it's a moment of turn up.
I like that you said that. As an artist, you should be making people feel something. It kind of makes sense, right? Because you said growing up, you're into poetry, you're into writing.
Yeah.
Like these are things that are extremely expressive and emotionally expressive. And I think that's where at least my opinion, what differentiates a good performer and a great artist is that ability to translate your emotions that you may be feeling into words so that your listeners can feel the emotions as well. With your music, I can say, I told you off camera already, like I see where your influence comes from.
Right.
And hearing it, your freestyles, they all have that power behind them. Like, so when you first started recording, I mean, no one ever says they were great when they first started recording. Yeah. But when you first started recording, did you feel like you had something in that moment, or were you just kind of having fun?
Wow, that's an interesting question. No one ever asked that before.
Okay.
I think when you're young, and you first start out, you always feel like I have something.
Okay.
But one thing I learned over time was what you feel and what the people feel is two different things. So you could love what you do, but until you play it in front of someone who loves you or probably don't know you, you'll get the reaction that you're supposed to get. And that'll help you determine, are you going on the right path, So I think it's kind of 50-50.
Wow, man. So, I mean, I think you are definitely right with that part, right? And I can empathize with that. Like when you start, you think you have something.
Right.
Like just that excitement of doing something new. Like I ain't half bad. If I practice this, I'll probably be fire, right?
Right.
Like, but a lot of people stop. Like, cause let's be honest, it takes a lot of work to get where you are right now. Like you've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah.
What was it that kept you going and kept you moving? Because I guarantee there were probably times where everyone didn't love what you were doing. How did you just continue the path and just kind of follow what you felt was best at that time?
You know what? Honestly, and I have to give credit to my moms for believing in me young, and that plays a great part when people that you trust, that you look up to, that you love, believe in you. And my mother always wanted me to stay out the streets. My mother always wanted me to, do as great as I could, like even if I wasn't an A+ student, she was okay with do your best. And with that being said, she invested into recording equipment for me back when I was like 13.
Okay.
14.
Wow.
Yeah, when I first got my own set of equipment. And I would say that really made me keep going because I didn't have to pay for studio time. So it obviously changed the dynamic of how frequent I can do it.
Seriously.
Yeah, so, you could wake up in the middle of the night, have something on your mind, and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go lay that down. So I would definitely say the ability of access.
Okay.
Access definitely kept me going.
Yeah, man, because that literally was going to be my next question. Because I think that like now we have a lot more access to studios and you can have home recording like never before. You have a laptop, like you see the memes online, they be like in the studio and they got their laptop in their bedroom. Like you now have that access of doing that and making tracks like that can go worldwide. So when you were recording at that young age, like what was your setup like? And like compared to today, like do you feel like it helped you starting where the technology was back then, or do you feel like it was something that kind of made it a little bit harder to get good?
The setup I had back then, I remember I had like a Dell computer. It wasn't prepared for
Okay.
the amount of space that I needed, the files. You know, I didn't have a hard drive at the time. I didn't know nothing about external space and none of that. But I think I had like back when Radio Shack was open. This is an older store. People
Oh
probably don't
yeah.
remember. But Radio Shack, man, I had like a mic that was kind of bent like a pencil, like on an arch a little bit.
Okay.
And I'm talking about back when people used to do webcams and all
Oh
that
yeah,
stuff.
those little computer microphones
Oh
with the
man,
long ones.
yeah,
Oh
yeah. So
Look
I
like
had
a
one of those.
telemarketer.
That's how I started out. You
Okay.
know, probably was not even $20 at the time. It was a USB, plugged it right into the Dell tower, and just a recording program. And it was called Cool Edit Pro at the time. This
Okay.
is a throwback program.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, so yeah, that setup right there got me going, and then eventually I crossed over to Logic, and then started with Pro Tools.
Okay.
And, you know, I started learning about interfaces and microphones, but yeah.
Wow. So you really did start from the basics of where you wanted to go. So in that point, like now it's kind of like we have the availability of networking and finding mentors within the space because social media makes it easier, right? Like you can communicate with
Definitely.
people and build your tribe. When you were starting, was it just yourself? Did you had a crew? Were friends into it as well? Like what did your tribe look like at that point in time?
Well, I believe when I first started out, it was just me, you know. At that time, it wasn't even a lot of people that was interested in doing music. I mean, of course, you have like, you know, the people that go to the lunch or the locker rooms and in school, and you know, we banging on the joints and freestyling, you know, in our little recess time. But I was one of the ones that took it serious. So what it did was it created a support system.
Okay.
You know, versus it being so much competition at that time. So it was definitely a little more just me by myself at this point in time, you know.
Okay. That makes sense, man. Now, back then, I mean, that we didn't have the SoundCloud and Instagram and the ease of promotion. Like, so you're making tracks, you're doing it by yourself, you got your support. How do you get it out there?
Interesting.
I
So
gotta hear this.
look, check this out, man. I always been like self-efficient. I always wanted to figure out how to move forward, right? So in 2007, I had dropped my first mixtape. The mixtape was called Champ Is Here.
Okay.
And however many tracks was on there. What happened was I had on the Dell computer, they had a program called Paint. If people remember that, right? The basic,
sir.
right?
We still got it.
Right. So I was using Paint, and I remember creating my own album cover. And this is at the time where you could go to Staples and you could go buy like blank CDs, like a tower of them.
Yep.
And I remember, you know, you create your little on the Windows Media Player. You create, you know, you put the songs in order.
Yep.
Burn the joint, and I learned how to print from the Paint app.
Yeah.
Onto paper, and what I did was I just would cut it out, put it in like a jewel case I get from Staples,
Bro.
and start selling it. Yeah,
Yeah, like everything you're saying, I can see in my head. Like
That's
the
crazy.
multicolored cases, the stack of CDs. I'm not even gonna lie. My sister tried to give me a stack of DVDs the other day. She's like, is there something you could do with this? And I'm just like, not at all. I can't even give away movies or music on this at all. But nah, so that's why. So you just kind of distributed directly to people around you.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to school with a book bag full of CDs. I had more CDs than I had homework done.
Sheesh.
I was wilding when I was young. I was like, man, this got to get out there,
bro. And that to me, that the level of confidence that you had at such a young age is so admirable, bro. Because like, I know growing up that if you were a kid that was good at something, most people's immediate reaction was to just clown you. Nah, you trash. You think you good? Get out of here. And they'll be like,
I went through that though. People don't think you go through those phases. Yes. You know, like at this point, I'm low pressure. Like that was my name at the time.
Okay.
Like of course, there's always people that's like when I say it wasn't as competitive, meaning everybody didn't want to be a rapper for real.
Okay.
But when people hear that you got something going on, they want to challenge you. So yeah, of course, it was always challenges. Yeah, definitely.
But it was the belief and the support you had that kind of got you through that part. of it. Would you say that, or what would you say? How you got through that?
I felt like I was a little ahead of the curve when it came to music because I studied. A lot of people, liked it, and like you ever heard I don't know if you heard this interview by Lil Wayne one time, but I swear I understood what he was saying. He's like, sometimes and I'm paraphrasing.
No, please.
He like, yo, sometimes when you great, you can't even explain it. Like you can't explain why you are the way you are. It's so natural. A person won't understand. They just would try to mirror that as much as possible. But it was one of those situations. I don't know, it became natural, like, over time. And the support from people that knew me, that I went to school with, that I grew up around. Like, I grew up in a community called Cary Woods. So you talking about hundreds of families.
Yes.
Like, the support was there. Even since a young kid before I was rapping, like, I always had a great upbringing. Like, my mother, everybody knew it. Like, everybody was family in the project. So my confidence definitely came from, like, where I'm from.
Okay, and I mean that makes sense, man. Because growing up in that environment, I definitely know about Cary Woods. Working in Jersey City, working throughout Hudson County with a lot of the youth. One of the things that's overlooked is the camaraderie and the family environment that's there. That can be their support. Not always, but if you find your tribe, there is a level of people to support you.
Yeah.
And like you said, you've always been learning. Because to me, to be at a young age and learn the things you learn, how to record yourself, how to make CD covers, put CDs, bring them to school, distribute them.
Yeah.
It, like, most people now don't even have that level of intuitiveness to actually see how they're going to create, market, and distribute their music. Like, where did that level of just curiosity or like come from when it came to learning all this?
Well, going back to, like, how I grew up, everyone wanted to go outside and play basketball and do certain things. I was okay with being like the sore thumb in the situation, like just standing out differently. Like, I was okay with staying home. Okay. I was okay with not going out and being in everybody's faces and going to play tag and all that. Like, I don't know, my mind frame was just on business mode when I was younger. Like, I grew up around people that was go-getters. So it kind of just made me feel like, if I'm, like, I have nothing against sports, but it just had me feeling like if I did anything other than contribute towards me and what could help me build as a young man, I feel like I'm being distracted. Like, I looked at everything outside as a distraction.
Okay.
At young, I don't know why.
Seriously, like, at what age were you like, nah, I don't need to go outside? There's nothing left for me. I'm good inside. What I want ain't gonna be outside. What age was that?
It was by the time I was like 13.
Sheesh.
14, like, yeah. And then this music that I created got me recognized by multi-platinum producers by the name of the Dream Team at the time.
Yes, sir.
And once they took on my project and put me in a real studio and gave me real production, and I had got real music videos, green screen stuff, I'm spoiled at this point in time because now I'm the only kid in school that have green screen videos that been performing in New York and certain things. I just was fortunate, man. Way too fortunate to ever like want to slow up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's amazing to have that experience at a young age and have it being used to motivate you to keep going. Not to say, oh, I made it this far. I could pull off the gas a little bit. I know this is going to happen for me, but to keep pushing. So I want to ask you, with all these amazing things happen to you, what was the point that you got to where you're like, okay, things are seriously moving? Like, things are seriously happening. Like, things can get bigger for me. Like, did you have an aha moment of that?
Definitely. I would say back in 2009. At this point, I'm 15. That's when I realized, like, wow, this is real. And what happened was I had created a record at home on the equipment that I had. I had a record called What It Do. This is my first single, like, original record. It's produced for me. It's a full-blown video for it. Has some cameo features in there. And that led me to performing at Liberty State Park, big park here in Jersey, North Jersey, where the Statue of Liberty is, for those that don't know. And I had opened up for Blue Magic and Black Ivory. oldies groups. A lot of people who don't know these people's music, none of that. And mind you, I'm 15 at the time.
Seriously,
14, 15. So I just feel highly favored at this point. And then I had got the feature with Ransom, which big artist, you know, coming out of North Jersey as well. And this is just all off of good relationships and people loving what I'm doing. So that right there, it was like the kickstart of keep going. And then it rolled over to like Loaded Lux when I started tapping into like the New York artists, battle rappers and all that.
Yep.
And just being able to be in ciphers with these people and holding my own, like it definitely didn't make me want to stop.
Yeah. And I can definitely tell, man, it just hearing the people that you're around, the environment, saying like being in ciphers with battle rappers, it gives me a little bit more insight to how you developed your style as an artist. Because until now, I was like, yo, what about him is different? Like I've listened to other artists, local artists, and up and coming artists, and I'm like, they're missing something. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like it's a sauce, and that ingredient is missing. And I listen to you now, and it makes sense. Like you had a variety of different influences when it comes to your style of music. Now, you did mention being in ciphers and battle rappers. Like, what did you take away from being around them that you think contributed to how you perform now?
Ooh, interesting question. Right? So check this out. One thing I learned from being around battle rappers is you don't want to be that guy that got to go after somebody that got the most oohs and ahs. You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And I learned that young, like, you know, when you say your name Pressure, you better apply pressure. Ooh, and when I'm in a cipher, whether people believe it or not, if you go after me, you better be something serious, because one thing for sure is I'm like, I don't care if a person say the dopest lines, you're not going to out-rap me.
Yeah.
I have too many verses in my head, too many bars I've ever came up with. So, you know, that's the competitive nature, though, when you're young and you're around a different class of people, right? Because when you're around some people that are sharks, they lions, you can't come over here with that goldfish talk. You can't come over here with that little kitty talk. It's a different world, you know what I mean? When you get on them cameras and you're around people that take this serious. So I definitely want to continue being in those type of circles when I was young.
Sheesh, bro. It sounded like you was about to just spit something out. I was gonna let you go. I was like, I don't know what he's saying. I was like, I'm gonna let him go. But that's so powerful though. So to want to rise to the occasion of the crowd that you're in. Yeah. Like, and then it sounds like you went looking for it.
Oh, definitely.
Like, you didn't let it come to you. Nah. You were like, all right, let me go find these dudes. And you mentioned like being a part of the scene in New York. Now, being from Jersey City and then making that crossover into New York, what was that really like?
It was a little challenging. I'll be honest with you. Like, New York, you know, we all know the 5 boroughs they're legendary in the hip hop scene in general. So I always felt like Jersey City was like the cousin or the sibling. And you know how it is. Like, if you're 20 years old, right? You got a brother or 4 other brothers, and y'all all in your 20s. But then you got that other little brother that he's 15.
Yep.
He ain't good enough to be around. Like, that's how we used to feel coming from here. So you always had to prove something and let people know, like, nah, like, we serious too. Like, we get busy too. So
absolutely, man, absolutely. And I see that in so many other facets of music, that Jersey talent and what's like created here is so often not always it's used in the industry, but not always appreciated in the industry.
Definitely.
Like, they'll take from Jersey, but not always say this is from Jersey. Yeah. And so we hear on the radio like, oh, that's a track like this, that's a track like that, and it kind of gets lost to the side. So I definitely empathize with that point of like having to fight your way to the top to gain that respect, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, you mentioned being in New York, like from my knowledge, like, you're always in New York, bro. I always see you everywhere. You're always outside. Yeah. You have amazing relationships with a lot of great DJs, a lot of great artists. Like, what do you think it was about your attitude, your journey, your drive that today allows you to keep the company you keep?
Wow. My consistency changed everything. Even times that I drifted off and I've ventured into other things that I found interesting in this industry, taking on different titles, just the consistency. I'm always popping up. I'm always relevant. I could be in a room for a different reason than what you're used to seeing me in the room for, but I'm in the room. So that definitely kept me magnetically closer to the people I needed to be around.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I see that because like I said today, I was out shooting at Yale for an artist talk for a collective they have out there. Big shout out to Zeph Farmsby out in Dumbo, Brooklyn, for bringing me out for that. And two people in the room knew who you were from different industries. Literally, Zeph knew you from your music and was like, "Oh, what? Pressure's coming over? Yo, seriously? Like, you ain't gotta let me know." Like, and I was like, "You know him? Yeah, 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 yeah." He's like, "Yo, I'm from this song and that song and that song," and I was like, "That's what's up." Like, and mind you, he's a Chicago artist. A painter. I don't want to call him a painter because he does a lot more facets than that, but he's a creator from Chicago that then came over to New York and knew what she was doing. The other gentleman is a spoken word poet, and he even said that you created some content for him, that you were helping him build out some stuff. So it's like to be in a room where like multiple people know your name from different facets. Like for most people, that's hard. It's hard enough to be known for one thing.
Right.
What was your drive? What was your direction? That not only are you known for your music, but for people that don't know, you still have like PressureOnline Media, which is doing big things right now. Like how are you able to be in the room at the same time with both?
Man, it's a blessing. I can say that. It's definitely not easy to wear multiple hats and to be respected equally for each talent you have or skill set. I would just say it's the idea of when you don't give up and you focus and you know exactly what you want to do and you have a vision. It's like if I create a vision for an artist, right? As an artist, I know exactly how I should be viewed. I know angles. I know what things should be said. I know what type of production works. Your voice is an instrument, so you got to know like what actually fits you as a person, what's believable. Because if it's not believable, it's not going to sell.
Hey, facts.
So it's just little stuff like that I just learned from studying. You know, like a lot of people listen to albums. Me, I was listening to interviews.
Ooh.
You know?
Ooh.
Like,
ooh, okay.
Nah, like for real,
Okay.
like you could listen to a person's music, but a lot of times they're there to entertain you. But when you hear an interview, you grow into who that person is mentally, and you could learn something at a better pace.
Yes.
In an interview. So just studying always kept me afloat, and I think that's the element that a lot of people leave out because they may feel like, man, I'm me. I'm gonna go to the interview. I'm gonna say what I want. I'll do it. And it's like you could do that, but is that gonna actually may make a person not even like you?
Yeah.
If they feel like you can't have a conversation, it was like, oh my gosh, this guy is like ignorant, you know?
Yeah.
So just studying helped me stay in rooms, and it helped attract people to me because they can see like it showcases in what I do that, you know, I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm doing.
Yes, sir. And I mean, I can definitely tell that from any time I've been around you. You've been well respected, and even your presence today shows this level of confidence. It doesn't come from arrogance. It comes from application, doing the work and knowing what you're doing. So wow on that part, because I'm just saying, and it makes sense. I love that line where you said, I wasn't listening to albums, I was listening to interviews.
For sure.
And to me, that is so powerful because we often don't think to ourselves that our favorite artist could also be a mentor to us if we just paid attention enough.
For sure.
In that facet. And I know, I forgot who it was. I think Kobe Bryant said it, where he goes, I have a lot of mentors that I've never met, and some are not even alive. It's just people's books and people's literature and things they've done that I study. And it sounds like that's the kind of route that you've taken.
Yeah. So
with that being said, who do you feel are some of the most influential people that you've studied that have helped you get to where you are today?
I definitely studied 50 Cent. And I studied 50 Cent because of his impact. Because you got to think, right? If you go watch Get Rich or Die Trying, the movie, right? And you are, what, 2005, I was about 12. You're 12 years old. And you telling your mother or whatever, or whoever, a guardian, right? I want a bulletproof vest for Christmas. You're 12 years old. Why do you want a bulletproof vest?
Yeah.
So that means that the impact from that person means so much that someone who hasn't even been shot at,
yes,
like, wants to feel the resemblance of the gangster lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so impact is important. And I think 50 Cent, I don't even know if he gets the amount of credit he deserves for the influence of that. And then I also studied between 50 and Jay-Z, the business. You know, like, it seems like people have more success or just as great success outside of music. And I always wonder that. Like, I wonder why. Like, you have clothes, you have liquor, whatever people invest into, schools, stuff like that. And it's like, why are they not investing into a whole bunch of artists? And they have, but you see those come and go. But the businesses, they're always tied to things. So
yes.
50 Cent, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne, I would say, got me in my freestyle bag. Like, understanding, like, yo, this guy hops on R&B records, like, being able to take someone else's song and make it feel like it's yours, to the point that the artist looked at him like, we hate when he come around. Yeah, so, you know, studying people like that, and then and man, I'm sorry, I should have said this first because I gotta put respect on this man. And I know a lot of my peers don't, but I literally study LL Cool J.
Okay, no, I get it. I get it, man. Please tell me why.
Performance, stage presence. Him, DMX, and Bow Wow. A lot of people don't want to give him credit, but their breath time, I've seen in Busta Rhymes. Sorry,
okay, yes, big shot.
Missy Elliott,
yes,
Ludacris. Those are the people I paid attention to for creativity wise, visually. Like, all their music videos, different. But LL, just understanding, like, yo, if you making records for the ladies, why not be in shape for it? You know what I'm saying? Like, there are things that play a part of why people's careers went the way they went.
Yes.
And LL Cool J being a person that definitely ladies man, but also can go do a Who Shot Ya or give you some bars and let you know, like, yeah, I'm for the ladies and I'm sitting here baby doll down, but don't ever confuse it. Like, you don't want to get in this ring with me. You know, seeing what he did with cannabis, respectfully.
Yes.
These are things that made me like, wow, you could be a gentleman and you can, you know, do what you do for the ladies, but also set the record straight so people know that there's a balance. And the only person I feel like that came close to that was Fabulous. And that was like one of the last people of that generation that I felt like gave that balance of, you know, like Fabulous. I always tell people this. He got a mixtape out with Jadakiss, right, that we heard, Freddie versus Jason. He's got on plenty of records with artists that really can spit. But when you go back and pay attention, he was on the You Got Served soundtrack with B2K. Then he had Basketball with Bow Wow. Like, you know how hard that is to have a record with B2K, Bow Wow, and certain people that, you know, was kind of categorized, like, you know, like certain artists people don't like to let grow. They were like, I look at him as low, such and such still. Yeah. And then be able to get in a ring and Fabulous, like, he's not somebody that you're going to get on the record with and think it's going to be like, I've heard him on records with Lloyd Banks. And Cassidy and all that. And I'm like, he always held his own. So those are the people that I study for the reasons of learn how to be in different calibers and never gate yourself, you know? So all those artists meant a lot to me.
Absolutely. And it seems to me like you have, I don't even want to say you have a knack for this, but it's like you see the value in each artist's strengths. Yeah. Because to the catalog you named, every one of them are diverse artists, super diverse artists, just from their style, their flow, their presentation. But it sounds like you're able to literally sit there and be able to pick out pieces. Why did this work? How are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And put pieces together. Like, literally, it's almost like you're a mastermind of the game at this point to see how it works, where you can put pieces together, what looks good, what doesn't look good, why you would make this statement, why you don't, like matching everything together to be, like you said, a complete like entertainer. at this point. And I feel like, given the atmosphere of music now, we're in an interesting place, I feel like. Because everybody you name, I feel like, was up and coming during like a real golden era of hip hop. Like, there were always different chapters, right?
Yeah.
Where we had the 80s. The 90s came out, it was just about having a good time.
Right.
Early 2000s came, you're like, I think that was 50 Cent's era. Like,
right,
for
yeah,
like
yeah.
10 to 20 years was just 50 Cent G-Unit era.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, we get to where we are now, and we're starting to see a little bit of that come back.
Yeah, I see that.
Like, because there's a lot of young artists that, a lot of older artists that don't like where the young artists are going. They talk about the mumble rap, they talk about the clothing, the way they look. But when you look at the movement, it's almost like they're doing, like you said, like seeing what worked before and then making it their own.
Right.
Right there. So is there any artists that are out now that you kind of look at in that same light?
When you say out now, like, you mean like how long ago did they come out?
It could be within the last 5 years or so where they really blew up.
I'm not trying to sound biased or crazy,
it's okay. It's
but
okay.
I don't know. I'm not like a lot of these guys. Respectfully, I guess I look at them like. And forgive me, but the presentation of these people, they don't stick around long enough for me to like really see like what they're capable of. Like, you know, you see artists, right? Like, my lady was just showing me something on the phone, and you see an artist that makes the same song 4 times. So if they give you an EP, it's kind of like same producers. It's like, I don't know. Me personally, I get tired of that. Like, I don't want to sit here and act like I like everything. Yeah. But there are moments, right? Because there's artists that have like 2-3 songs, and I'm like, yo, this is my joint. Yeah. I'm turning this on at the pool party, when I'm in the car, whatever. But is it anyone who I felt like produced a project that made me feel like, wow? Because you said last 5 years.
Yeah, someone in the last 5 years.
Now, if you said, like the 2010s era, okay, right? If you give me more range of like 10, 15 years, then I would say I'm going to give you my top 5.
Okay.
I'm listening to the Drake, Okay. I'm listening to Meek Mill. I'm listening to J. Cole.
Yes.
Big Sean. And I rock with Ace Hood.
Okay.
These are my 5.
Yes, sir.
And it's for reasons because they've all came with a storyline.
Yes.
These new artists, I don't really know who they are. I know who they're portraying to be because we all can see that. But do I know who they are? I've never heard any interviews that made me feel like, wow, that person's deep. I didn't know they went through that. Respectfully, shout out to Scarlett. I know she's kind of told her story, how she grew up. But is there people's projects that I'm listening to? A lot of them not doing it for me right now. Right now. A project.
Okay, no, I respect it because that note you made about the artist you just listed being your choice because they have stories.
Yeah,
they tell you who they are. You grow with them through their work. Yeah, and even when I pictured in my head, even what they look like has changed with their music. Like when you look at J. Cole from when he first started to where he is now, and you're like, okay, that's a grown man now. Like he's lived through some stuff. He's been through some stuff, and he shared it with us. Even when you look at Drake, like I'm not even like Drake. I think Drake is an amazing artist. That's a crazy transformation of where he was to where he is now.
Yeah, and
to see every artist that you name kind of growing that way, I think you're right. I think the young artists are going to a place where it's almost as if they're performing for what they think you like,
right,
and not necessarily who they are,
right.
And so it even gets to that point where you made where like when you enter a room, people can have a conversation with you. You know what you're talking about. You have a story to tell. Why do you think that the younger artists are not necessarily doing that? Do you think it's something that's influencing in the industry? Do you think it's social media? Like, why do you think we've kind of lost that in the new artists?
Because they're skipping the artist development stage. There's no guidance. If anything, there's whoever could make me the fastest dollar, whoever could get me the most views, whoever's popularity is like up there right now, like high rising. And those are all the wrong reasons as to why to make someone the face of something.
That's true.
Like, we know how this industry go. At least I do. And there's 3 things that get you to where you want to be, right? And for those that don't know, I'm looking at the camera when I say this. Let me tell you exactly what helps a lot of these people. Now, I'm gonna just isolate the gang related stuff because I see it all the time, and I don't know why it gives it a crazy boost. These are things that you have to pay attention. Like, if you have a young daughter, a young sister, you have to look at this like, dang, like my child, my sibling, or whatever like that is going to be influenced by this person that's supposed to be their role model.
Yeah.
These artists that's out are supposed to be their Jay-Z's, Biggie's, and Nas's, right? And guess what? You have a hard time choosing who's who because you don't know these people.
That's true.
But going back to the 3 things. Popularity, check. Money, check. And then the last one is strength in numbers. A team. All those 3 things can change your situation overnight.
Very much so.
People think it's about who you know. Not anymore. The game changed to me. It's not about who you know. It's about who know you. And it's not about if you can get in the room. The goal is, and the question is, yeah, you can get in the room, but what are you going to do to stay in the room? Changes everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's where you can no longer just be a musical artist. You can't just make music anymore. You can't just be a rapper. You can't be a singer because either you're going to get lost in the business side because you're not familiar with it. And if you do have someone do it for you, you're not making your money. Or if you are trying to do everything yourself, the business and the artist side, you don't have enough time to fully push it to the level it needs to be at to get you greatness. So a team is needed there to develop. And I mean, I lean on that heavy. Like, a lot of stuff I do is because of my team. I pride myself in collaboration. Like, if I can, I'm pulling somebody in with me just so we can elevate together. And I it's very interesting. I've had that experience with A&R reps for record labels. I remember sitting in one A&R. I'm not even going to mention his name, but I remember sitting with him, and he's discovered a lot of major artists. And he said to the artist that was in the room, you have everything. He's like, you don't just have a vibe, like, you got your own lane out here. And he goes, if this was 10 years ago, I'd sign you today. But he said, but it's not. We don't develop artists no more. He's like, if you can put out a hit and go viral, we'll be knocking on your door the next day. But we need to see that you can do that. And I used to think that was a bad thing, right? Yeah. But the way you mention it is like, you don't need them anymore. Because if you think about it, right, you have your team in place. You got your people that know the business side. You have the people that can do your media for you. You have the people that can do your contracts and stuff for you. You have your team that's out there pushing you, promoting you, bringing your name up in rooms that you're not. You don't need the record labels anymore. And it changes. I know La Russell's been doing it heavy, and he's even big shout out to La Russell, man. He's creating pathways now for new artists, and I love seeing things like that. I mean, even this show, right? I could record it in my studio, put it up on Instagram, put it up on YouTube, and who knows who's going to call me one day to do something. Where do you see yourself fitting into that world now, seeing as how you but you developed during an era that wasn't like that, but now you're playing in the arena where it is. Where do you see yourself fitting in that?
Well, now understanding, being more than an artist, which I was kind of doing young because I had to distribute my own CDs and stuff at the time, like, coming up. Now, just an executive background, I would say, like understanding every part of the vehicle and like we all know that tires supposed to rotate, right? But if you understand the axle and every other part around it, you know, how the steering wheel is connected. When you know the details, it does put you in a more executive situation because now you can call shots and understand why you're doing it. So for me, it's just being more than an artist. It's understanding how do you get streams. It's understanding analytics, you know, looking into who's listening to you, what they look like, what's their age group, where they're from. And those things play a part in your success rate. So really just, like I said, studying. When you pay attention to everything, it's going to put you exactly where you need to be. But for me, it's more than an artist.
And it sounds like it, man. So I'm curious because we talked a lot about the business side, the media side, the development of everything. What's next for you? What are you working on? Where do you want to go? Like, what do you want to see within the next year or so?
Within the next year or so, I definitely, like, I'm doing the live in the booths, coming back out with the freestyles. I do want to put out another project. I see what EPs have done for me, like short projects with 4 or 5 songs on them. And I've also seen what like full-length albums did for me. And not going to say yet, but I'm definitely deciphering which way I'm going to go.
Okay.
Because they give 2 different outcomes.
Yes.
But believe it or not, I said to myself, within the next 3 to 5 years, I do want to put together like a movie.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, I'm at a stage now where learning how to produce visuals. I mean, what's better than putting it all together and telling the story? You know, and I've learned that from Michael Jackson. You know.
Oh, see, man, you just yo. Okay, continue, please. Please.
Watching Mike, man.
Yeah.
Like Michael videos all were short films, just about.
Literally.
So when you glue it together, it's like a musical. So I'm like, yeah, I'm at that point now where it's like, you know, it's cool to do videos and, you know, have people jumping around and all that, but it's like, what's the end result? So I definitely want to get behind a movie for sure.
Wow, man, a movie. See that again? That's what I said. You man, a jack of all trades, man. And I wanna switch lanes a little bit and get more into the media side because your knowledge is vast when it comes to the music industry. But we did touch on where you do have PressureOnline Media and the presence that you hold seriously in that realm. Like, bruh, like the rooms you're in, highly impressed, bro. So very much congratulations on that, bro. How did you even get into the media game at all?
Interesting. So now we got to go back to when I was about 16.
Okay.
As I said, with me not being interested in doing sports and all that stuff when I was younger, I was fortunate enough to be gifted a camera. It was probably Christmas or so. And this is around the time that YouTube was kind of like getting his wave. And I knew that I needed music videos. So I just started doing them for myself, right? I didn't have a tripod. I was sitting on whatever is eye level in the crib.
Yeah.
And, you know, go for it, you know, and then having like my boys or whoever was around hold the camera. But at this time as a teenager doing that, people around me started, you know, they were seeing that what I was doing was working. So now they're influenced and they're like, yo, we want a video. So it went from doing it for myself because I knew that I needed it to becoming a service in my community. So as I'm shooting videos for people, multitasking while doing music, shooting videos at a young age in my community, then different parts of the city. And then it branched over to New York. And next thing you know, I started not only doing music videos, but then it started becoming like family events. So now it's sweet 16s, birthdays, all these things, right? And baby showers, all of this stuff. And then I started becoming like a household name in my town. So now it's like, yo, go to Pressure to get this, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, it was another transition, right? Because when I think of camera work, I think of music video and, you know, celebrations. Now, shout out to DJ Bobby B. He like, yo, first DJ to ever have me come to a club and film him in a club. And in my mind, I'm like, a DJ is just playing music. So what am I going to record for 2 hours? The crowd, the reaction, the bartenders, all these different things. And I'm getting in clubs young at this point in time. Like, you know, so going from there to meeting other DJs. Now I'm meeting DJs that's at radio stations. And now I'm going to the radio station. Everything changed, man. Like, it all started just from knowing I needed it to other people become interested, and it became a service. So now, because I wasn't financially stable to pay for videos, that's why I was doing it myself. Then I learned, okay, well, then this is my way of making a living. So the living came from the production.
Yeah, so that's super interesting because literally you were creating it for yourself out of necessity, and the quality in which you were creating your work became your own marketing. Like, or people were like, who did this? You did this? Yo, I need you to do this for me. That's like the wildest concept. It's like, I don't want to say you're your only guinea pig, but like you're your own test dummy at that point. Like, okay, this works on me. I know it'll work for you. We could put this together and keep pushing, man. And I think it's super interesting that you started out with going music videos to other life events because it all involves storytelling. Like being able to, I remember the first time we talked about this, about the shots that you get when you talked about being in a club, and you're like, well, yeah, I'm not going to get that to this time because I got to get the DJ walking in, and then I got to get the crowd. I got to get the shots from the crowd, the shots from the stage, inside the DJ booth. I need to do this, cut this back and do that. And I'm like, bro, at the time, I think I was brand new to the game. Yeah. So I'm sitting here like, this brother can tell a story about DJing a club on a Saturday night just from understanding logistics of walking in, to give the spectator and the crowd person in the crowd the full experience and a little bit of backstage of what's going on. So from that moment, I knew you was like, bro, the storytelling is crazy. And with storytelling in mind, I gotta talk about it. I gotta bring it up. You filmed your own documentary. Yeah. Which is wild. Like I think the interesting thing is when a lot of people talk about you, they don't even always go in that direction. But you did a documentary on your own life, on some things that you were going through, that got a lot of traction, bro. And like super impressive. Like, you gotta tell me, like, how did that come about? How did that thought even surface?
Well, and I have to give credit, man, to like Soulja Boy. People, like, these are people that are like, you know, it's weird because people don't want to say like these people are pioneers, but they actually changed something in the time frame of where they was here or when they were peaking, you know? So understanding that documenting and recording everything was like important, you know? I've seen people, you know, document them going to a doctor's visit or going to get their car fixed. And I never understood why these videos had so many views, but then I understood that people are nosy. Like, people like to see what you're doing. Yeah. Like, even with Joe Budden when he was dealing with Tahiri. Before Love and Hip Hop. This stemmed from the idea of people like to feel like they have exclusive access. Oh, okay. So, going back to my point, when I was filming music videos and stuff, I knew to always have behind the scenes. It's common sense. Because there's always somebody that's not physically there that wanted to know how it came about. So you give them insight. And then, you know, with the unfortunate situation with my lung collapse.
Yes, sir.
Changed everything.
Yeah, man. Because I saw even you had the intuitive notion to film while you were going through it. Yeah. Which to me, like, I remember, anytime I've ever had to go to emergency room in a hospital or something, the last thing in my brain is somebody get the camera out. Like, usually I'm like, I hope I'm good. I don't want to feel this pain anymore. Like, what was going through your mind at that point that made you say, you know, I need to get this on film?
Well, believe it or not, you know, when you're like just about perfectly healthy, right? Don't smoke, don't drink, nothing. And something like traumatic happens to you drastically, like snap of a finger, you don't even know why this happened to you. You kind of feel like your story is like will be untold. So mentally for me, it was kind of like yo, if I'm gonna die today tomorrow because of my lung collapse and like, you know, you talking about your respiratory, like, you know, that shut down,
Yes, sir.
it could be over.
Yes.
It's like, what are people gonna have left of me? Like, of course, people can listen to the music and all that, but I could be saving someone else's life because someone else might ignore what I was trying to ignore.
Yeah.
And my cousin took my car keys and made me stay at the hospital for.
Wow.
So I knew in my mind, like, it's bigger than just me. If I'm able to help someone else, then if that's my purpose, then let me fulfill that with this documentation.
Sheesh, bro. Because that's heavy. To be that clear-minded in such an instance. Like, if this is the end of my days, then let me have a purpose.
Yeah.
Let me have a reasoning of why I'm here. And that, I mean, sheesh, just hearing that, it really allows me to understand why you do the things you do. It seems like to me, everything in your life that you do is with an intent. It has purpose behind it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to waste your time, put energy into something that doesn't feed you. And I know we've had this conversation about different lifestyles and things we do in our personal lives that are not always on the up and up of the mainstream, but feed you when you're trying to do something a little more serious.
Yeah.
Because it seems like you working. Like, literally, you got off the plane, you text me. I'm driving back from Connecticut, so we still good for the night, 7:38. I'm like, bro, 8, not 7:30. I need to run home real quick. But it seems like you're that locked in, and it definitely shows in everything you're doing, man. And so, I mean, I appreciate you sharing that side of yourself through the documentary. How did it feel to put something so raw and so personal and intimate out for the world to see when you were done with it?
I felt good about it because I knew that, you know, it's like a butterfly, right? That go through its stages, you know, caterpillar, or all of the different stages you go through where you're letting off layers. I had to let off that layer to get past that, because if I didn't, it's like you'll be regretful forever if you felt like, wow, I never told that story or I never showed it. And me, I'm a visual learner, so if I don't see it, I probably won't believe it. I'd be like, okay, that's what's up. Like, certain things you can't just say it to me. So I wanted to just give my truth as much as possible. I know that, you know, no one's gonna go on my hard drive and go look at all my files individually and put it together. I know nobody's gonna do that for me. You know, like, no one has the mental capacity and the time and the idea of, like, let me put this together for him this way. Like, nah, I knew that already. So it's like, if you're here to tell your story, then why not tell it yourself? Because you let someone else tell it, they're going to bend it anyway. You know?
Say that again. Jesus,
yeah, for sure.
Man. That's, oh my God, that's a perfect point. I love the way you said that. If you don't tell your story, someone else will tell it for you, and then they're going to mess up.
Like, think about this, right? You've seen Notorious.
Yes.
You've seen the Tupac movie. You know how many details was left out of those movies?
Yes.
You know how many things was put into there just to keep it entertaining?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want nobody to play with my life like that.
And I respect that wholeheartedly. I do respect that, especially going into a time where docu-films, so to speak, are being made. And they put that writing in the beginning. Some of these things have been
based
embellished and glorified for the reason of entertainment, and they never tell you what it is. And I mean, for some instances, it can be good because it leaves a little bit of mystery. But some other stuff somebody that you may look up to, they may glorify another part that wasn't really true to who they were. So, man, I definitely admire the fact that you're willing to tell your own story, because I think we need more representation like that out here in Hollywood, especially when it comes to the film industry, when it comes to documentaries, when it comes to media. So you mentioned you want to shoot a film. I'm going to have to ask you, if you want to shoot a film, that means you got something in mind. Are you able to share with us what your idea would consist of, or what it will kind of walk the line of?
Definitely. Like the film that I want to create, and I've had this vision in my head for a while. I just haven't had the time to sit still and like just key in on it. Because I feel like I need to be. One thing I don't like to force is inspiration. Like I can know what I want to do, but if the beat is not there to match my emotion, I know I'm not gonna write my best.
Sheesh.
You know what I mean? So going into the film aspect, I wanted to feel like how Friday felt when you watched it. I wanted to feel as relatable and something to make you smile, something to make you laugh at, you know? Because that's always my thing. Like off camera, I'm always joking, always playing. Yep. So if a person watch a film of mine, I want them to enjoy it, something to laugh at, but I also want them to learn something. I want them to notice that there's lessons and there's little hidden gems in between the laughter. So stuff like that, but very relatable, you know, everyday people, stuff that you see in the hood, things that you deal with coming up in poverty or urban environments. Because I feel like there haven't really been a film lately that showcased that.
That's true.
So, and if someone did, you know, it's way more commercialized. You know, they're not. They're putting it together what they think people want to see.
Yes.
But when you really out here and you really know what's going on, it's like, nah, like it's things that, you know, you want the youth to be up on game about. It's just like this, right? You got an area where I'm from that don't get along with an area that you may be from in the same city.
Yes.
And it's like, do you know how many people, you know, before these projects was knocked down, right? Because they all became townhouses. You know how many people that's originally from where I'm from that now they had to find apartments on your block where you live at now. So now you have beef and you have issues with people that you're actually related to. Or y'all mothers might have spent the night at each other's houses and you would never know that.
Y'all cousins.
You would never know
Seriously.
that because of where you're from. You feel like it's a territory boundary.
Yeah.
So it's things like that I would, you know, I don't want to keep saying too much, but these are things that I want to put into a film to show people like you don't even know who you are.
Sheesh, bro. I think that you're just dropping gems all day. I gotta take a second on every other time we talk, but that I think that holds so much value of telling those stories, because right now the people that are in the positions to make the decisions often do not understand the nuances of living in those areas, and those are details that are maybe small to them have major consequences for the people that live in those areas, and it's just from ignorance. Not knowing, not being around to know, not talking to the people, not being in a place to observe it, or not even know what questions to ask, right?
Yeah.
Because I deal with that all the time with the youth that I work with, working with throughout the county, and people come to me like, hey, we want to work with the youth. We want to host a program here and here. And I'm like, well, if you host it there, well, those kids can't go there. And if you host it there, you're only going to get the kids from that area. And they're like, well, where can we go to? Everybody can come. And I'm like, we're gonna just get multiple locations. Like, let's not worry about it. We can't do that right now.
But you see, that's a problem.
It is.
It's a big problem.
It
because
is.
But look, and I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
but
please.
People don't realize, like for me, right? I'm in different areas of the city. I'm like where I'm from. Some people can't even go where I go. That's why I gotta go, you know, with someone that may be from out of the city, out of town, you know, like, or by myself.
Yeah.
And it's like, a lot of these people, when you talk to them, I've talked to some of the most wildest people, right? And they'd tell me, and I asked them like, yo, like, what's really the issue? Like, is it money? Is it something that can be changed?
Yeah.
He's like, nah, man, this person got laid out, and there's body for body. And I'd be like, and then I'd be like, but you wake up and you gotta look over your shoulder, go to the corner store, all that. Like, why you live like that? You cool with that? And you know what they tell me? I don't really want to do this. Like it's like it's annoying. It's too much. Like I don't want to put my family through this. Blah, blah, blah. So what I'm getting at is a lot of people, and it's not about being soft. It's about being. It's about recognizing what your life is worth. I talk to people all the time that tell me we don't want to have to live like this. Like we just got to be on defense because the other side ain't gonna stop. Wow. But when I talk to the other side, they feel the same way.
Same thing.
So you see why this is a problem?
It's two people. It's like two people arguing and don't know why they're arguing, but they need to argue because they need to argue. Craziness.
It's bad.
It's crazy.
It's that bad, man.
So, I mean, you make a good point when it comes to two sides going back and forth and not really knowing why, just being on defense, right?
Yeah.
And I remember I've had an experience with a young man where I asked him, how did this all start? And he goes, this goes way back, man. I don't even know.
That's a problem.
And that's to me like, what are we fighting over? Why are we fighting if we don't know why? Like, I think Jay-Z made a good reference in the story of OJ where he said, shooting up the block that your mama renting. Like we don't even own the property in which we're fighting over, claiming these blocks as if they're our own. But at the end of the day, you're paying somebody else that doesn't even live close to here just to live in that area.
Ah, that's crazy. It's crazy. I gotta stop you right there, real quick. I thought you were gonna say the other Jay-Z line because it's. I don't know the exact. I don't want to mix it up because it's been a while since I heard this record. But I think he told me Jay-Z said a wise man told me don't argue with fools because a person across the room can never tell who's who. He said something like that. I thought that's what he was gonna say.
I mean, that's an honest line too.
Yeah, it's something like that.
That's
I'm
an honest
paraphrasing,
line,
but
too. I mean,
that line is crazy.
I mean, that's an honest line too about just having that little level of calm, peace, and knowledge and confidence of self to be like, if you don't understand what I'm trying to say, you ain't doing what I'm trying to do, I need to let you go. And I think we tend to, ego can get in the way of that, right?
Yeah.
Needing to always be right. We hear it all the time. I'm not going to let people disrespect me. And I always tell those people, well, respect's not going to pay your rent. You can't go to the bank and be like, I want to deposit all this respect I gained out here today.
Right.
Like, you're still going to be broke, hungry, and upset. But it's almost as if those lessons fall upon deaf ears. Like, I look back, I'm like, when we were young, were we that foolish?
Naive?
Yeah, that naive and foolish.
Yeah.
Like, and part of me wants to be like, I don't think so, because like we had that environment. Like, you knew your neighbors, you knew people in the neighborhood. If you did something wrong, somebody else's mama could yell at you, and then tell your mama what you did, and then you gonna get yelled at when you get home.
Right.
But I feel like we're at a point now we can't do that. There's so much isolation
and sensitivity.
I mean, that's a good point. Now, when you say sensitivity, what direction do you mean?
When I say sensitivity, I mean someone else stepping in to help you parent your child. That parent gets offended because a person is like, don't tell me how to raise mine. But it's like, you're a child too. That's why you need help. People don't like to take that, you know? For sure.
And that goes to that emotional, right? Where they say when you have kids, your kids are watching you grow up too.
Yeah.
And it's more of a growing and learning experience together, which we need a little bit more forgiveness.
Definitely.
Right? No one's perfect. I know growing up, nobody was perfect in my life. There's things I'm learning and healing and going through now and learning from now that are helping me be better in my life. I mean, that definitely leads me on to the fact that you seem like you're a very well-connected person to self. I don't necessarily want to say spiritual in it, but you say like I had this vision in my head, and if it don't feel right, I'm not going to do it. Like, does spirituality or your connection to self, how big of a role does that play on who you are today?
A big part.
Okay.
I'm real big on intuition. I'm real big on paying attention to my surroundings, like awareness. I always tell people awareness keeps you alive. And even the idea of knowing that I got to go get it. It's nobody else is going to do it for me. When someone else goes out and hunt, right? Someone else can go out and go hunt and go get that whatever's out there, that deer, you know, and bring it back home. But, you know, somebody got to cut it up. Somebody got to cook it, you know, clean it, cook it. Right. Somebody got to serve it on the plate and all that. Like, it's so many roles and layers that people leave out. So these are the things that keep me going, because I understand I could be in a room, but like I was getting back to the first point, that don't mean I'm going to stay in the room. Because someone else could come, you know, budget cut, more talented, more, what's the word? More as far as communication, they could be more friendly. There's so many different things that can get you stepped on and stepped over. So just understanding that, you know, there's always somebody that want to take your spot. Those are the things that keep me on my toes.
I like that. I like that, my guy. I mean, it seems like it's interesting because it seems to be a lot more to who you are as an artist, but those things that you've explored in yourself as a person has led you down a greater path of knowledge to be more in depth. You don't just talk about music, you talk about the music industry. You don't talk about media, you talk about marketing. Like, you don't talk about the just the lyrics and the environment, you talk about the impact that the lyrics have on the influence of people. And it really shows your depth as an artist, and just as a person, as a man in general. So I want to thank you for coming on, my guy. This has been an amazing show. I definitely want to have you back on to dive deep into some more topics. I think there's a lot more to be explored, and especially when you drop new music, we got to have you back out here,
of course,
to get you on. But before we go, I want to give you your time. You can look in the camera, let the people know what you got going on, where they can check you out, where they can follow you, everything else, and just let them know what's going on.
For sure. What it do, what it is, what's happening? It's your boy Pressure, a.k.a. Mr. PressureOnline.com. Woo! Right now, y'all tuned into a State of Loud podcast. And y'all can check me out on all streaming platforms. Google it, whatever you got to do. Make sure you go type in Pressure Online. Everything spelled regular. Put it all together. You can check out my latest project, 29, Transparent, Fear. Make sure y'all go tune in and go catch up, man. Check in.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that comes to the conclusion of our show. Pressure, I want to thank you again for coming on, my guy. It was a pleasure just getting to dive deep into the roots of you as an artist, the career that you've been building, the avenues in which you're involved in, and the businessman that you're becoming. Definitely a pleasure having you on. Can't wait to have you back. And ladies and gentlemen, if you love what you seen here and heard here tonight, please check out Pressure Online. Every place, like he said, you can Google him, look him up, spelled the regular way. Please go follow him, show him some love and support. I'm excited for the new stuff he's coming out. Check out his other stuff as well. But if you guys like the show and you stuck with us this long, you know what I'm going to ask. Like, subscribe, ding the bell, share the show, get some people you know to look in and check out A State of Loud. This is your boy, Chris Jefferson, signing off for another show. And as always, nothing but love. Peace.